So last night, Friday night, I'm on Twitter X, and I see this. Do they still call it Twitter Spaces or X Spaces? I see this conversation going on about Jake Lang, and it's being hosted by a man named Kash Kelly, and I'm like, what is this about? Let me click on this, and it seemed like this was. Y'all might have already taped it because I may have listened to a replay because I didn't get home till like 11:30 midnight, and somehow I was listening to this then, and I was like, I gotta hunt this dude down. He knows Jake Lang. Jake Lang is the guy that just did the Unite the White or Protect White People rally in Frisco, Texas. Thank God it was a flop. But I want to unpack a bit more of Jake Lang's history. You saw him on our show on Friday. I thought he kind of made a fool of himself. And now this man can unpack the entire mystery. He was locked up with Jake Lang in the D.C. area for more than a year. Kash Kelly, a January 6th pardon receiver. Welcome to Fearless. And if you could, just give us a tiny bit of your background before I ask you about Jake Lang.
A little bit about me, man. I was born and raised in northwestern Indiana. I got a history. I used to be a gangbanger. I was raised in gangs. I was a Latin King from Chicago, Illinois. And I changed my life around when I became a father and grew up in a bad area. So I didn't really have a father growing up. My father was murdered when I was 3. So I was raised in that culture, and I changed my life around at the age, I'll say about 21 for all the way around. At 18, it started my change when I had my first son, and got married at 19. When I got married at 19, I had more kids. I had another son, and I'm like, yeah, this life ain't for me no more. So I switched it up and became an activist, keeping kids away from gangs, away from the streets, out the streets, preaching against gang violence. And I started up my nonprofit, which is a Streetlights Unity movement geared towards keeping kids off the streets. And later on in life, got into politics. I had a viral clip in 2020 when I had a message that said, Black Lives Matter, but when the Black Lives gonna matter to us. And it was me just basically talking to the community saying, yo, we got to make a change before we can expect anybody else to want to make a change with us.
So that's the backstory. He gets incarcerated over January 6th and the previous bad life that he's already explained. But tell us about one of the most fascinating things I heard you all talking about was that here's Jake Lang out leading the white movement, but the entire time he was locked up, he was telling you all he was a Jew. Walk us through that.
Yeah, so Jake, man, he was always a problem, really, in the unit. And we ended up shunning him and getting him removed from the unit because the whole time he was there, he was a problem. He had the Jewish kosher tray, which, we thought if he's Jewish, that's what's up. Do your thing. Nobody had a problem with that. But he would make derogatory statements towards us, like when we would take his tray or something. Like I took his tray a couple times because, he wasn't eating them and he was just leaving. So I'm on detail. I took his tray. I'm like, he ain't going to eat it, so I'm going to eat it. And he said one time to my friend Ryan Nichols, he said, keep your filthy Gentile hands off of my food. This is kosher tray. This is only for Jews. So that's what he was, and cried anti-Semitism anytime anybody said anything mean to him or whatever. And it was no anti-Semitism happening towards him. He just cried that every time. You guys are only being mean to me because I'm a Jew, and you guys are part of the racist MAGA. And it's like, bro, no, that's not it. You're a Nepo baby, and you're a crybaby, and you're not adjusting well to jail life, Man up.
And so the thing that I heard interesting last night, obviously you're black, but I heard other white January 6 people saying they had a problem with Jake Lang as well.
Oh yeah, most of the J6 community is behind me because, like I told you, I was viral before I lost everything. I had huge platforms, and before I lost it all, after January 6th, everybody knew me. So the J6 community, they support me. Most of them do. You got some people that don't because they're a part of Jake's, little clan. That's what I'm gonna call it now, Jake's clan. And other dudes got other things going on. But the majority of the people that you know about, they're my people. They're my brothers. They're my sisters. So yeah, they definitely was very, very vocal about Jake because they dealt with the same issues that I dealt with in there with him because we dealt with him together. We got put on lockdown because of Jake. They took our phone calls away because of Jake. They did all kinds of stuff to us because of Jake always causing issues. That's why we had to have him removed from the unit. I actually had a physical altercation with him.
Over?
Well, he had us locked down we weren't able to talk to our kids on certain holidays because he wanted to act up and not listen to the COs. When the COs will say, "Hey, it's time to lock in," or the COs will say, "Hey, you guys stop doing that over there. You can't do this over here." And Jake would throw a fit. He's like, "Why can't we? You're trying to take away our rights. This is our constitutional rights. We have the freedom of speech." And just his little thing, his monologues that he would do. So one day he's coming up to me after we done shunned him. I was mad after I couldn't talk to my kids on was it like Easter or something like that, Thanksgiving. I don't know which holiday it was, but I couldn't talk to my kids because you got us locked down. So he comes up to me and said, "Brother, can I talk to you?" I'm like, "Nah, bro, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Everybody's shunning him. No one's talking to him." I'm like, "No, we ain't got nothing to talk about. Leave me alone, bro." And he was, you're not gonna be talking to me like that, brother. We're supposed to be in this together." And he's in my face. I'm like, "Well, we ain't in nothing together and you need to back up. Get away from me." And I'm holding my cup of coffee. And he's like, "No, I'm not going anywhere. You need to talk to me. And I got something I need to tell you." I'm like, I threw the coffee in his face. And I'm like, "Bro, back up off of me." And when he backed up from the coffee, he was like, "You're going to throw coffee on me?" And started coming towards me. So when he came towards me, I hit him with a one piece. He fell out. I grabbed him by his shirt and I'm about to start welling on him. And he curls up in a ball and he's like, brother, please. And he started begging me to not touch him. So I'm like, okay. I grabbed him and I picked him up. And I said, "Oh, now I'm your brother." I said, "I told you, leave me alone. You talk to me again. You say anything else to me, bro, and I'm not going to stop." And I threw him. I pushed him off. And he said, "Go on somewhere, bro. Don't talk to me." And after that, he didn't say nothing to me until he got removed.
Was Jake stirring racial division when you guys were locked up? And I asked because did he have a bad experience with you? And that makes him want to be racist, makes him want to lead this type of move. What type of personality was Jake in terms of, and is this race thing he's doing, is that new or you saw signs of this while you guys were locked up?
He had his little opinions like about the black community, you know what I'm saying, about crime and all of that, but it was never like how it is now. You know, we thought he had a Messiah complex because he used to sit and write like his own Psalms because he would say that he's from the bloodline of David. And that's how he has this ability to write these amazing Psalms, like in the book of Psalms, and he would pass them out to people. And he did it to antagonize the people that didn't mess with him. So the people that was angry at him, he would write a Psalm and go and slide it underneath their door before we locked in and say, "This is for you, brother." And then it would be a dig. The Psalms wouldn't be like friendly towards you. It'd be a dig. Basically, he's trying to scold you with his own little scriptures that he came up with in his mind, scold you about how wrong it is to mess with Yisrael. He spelled it with a Y, Yisrael, and how you're not going to be blessed if you're not nice to the Jewish guy on the pod. So the racial thing, not in the sense of black, it was more in the sense of he's better than everybody because he's a Jew. That's what we gathered, and that's how he operated in there, and everybody will tell you that.
I'll say this. I don't know if you saw my interview with him on Friday, but the struggle we had, I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with him like you and I are having, but he kept talking over me. I didn't say it in real time, but it just felt like this dude has no interest in what I have to say. Clearly it's coming across like I'm irrelevant, and what he has to say is some, straight from God or straight from him, and I'm less than him. And so and I had been nothing but friendly and supportive of Jake before this protest that they just had Saturday that seemed like it flopped and failed. And that was the other thing I heard you talking about on that Twitter space, is that he's wanted to be a leader, he's wanted to be important, and this is just another perhaps failed attempt at that, because they had 15, 20 people there on Saturday. Tell us about, I think you said he had feelings of insecurity and just wanted to be a leader of something.
Yeah, man, he's a beta male. He's always been like a beta. He wants to be a leader but doesn't know how to be because his mind is warped. His heart ain't in the right place. A natural leader don't got to tell you that he's a leader. You know what I'm saying? He's just going to do things and people going to follow. A leader doesn't go looking for followers. Followers look for a leader. Nobody wasn't looking for Jake because we all seen through him and seen what he was. So he does got this like inferiority complex about him. He definitely had it with me because he wasn't as strong as me. He wasn't as smart as me. people didn't mess with him how they messed with me. You had people that were supposed to, in his mind, he's calling them racist. He tried to label people anti-Semitic while we was in there and say that they were racist and I shouldn't talk to these people because they said this about black people. And these same people that he's talking about would be sitting having little discussions with me, or we'll sit down and have dinner together. You know what I'm saying? And chop it up and play cards and play, chess together. And we were there for each other. And they respected my word. When I would say, yo, fellas, I think we need to chill, man. This is going to happen if we don't. They will respond and be like, yeah, I think you're right, bro. But when he says something, they like, man, get out of it, bro. You a clown, gone. We don't want to hear nothing you got to say. And that happened a majority of the time that he was there. So he's got a massive inferiority complex with anybody who threatens his image. And I'm the main one that threatens his image because I'm exactly what he talks about. He called me on the show last night that we did. He called me a violent black, or what do you say, a violent black man, or I'm a violent black American is what he said. Now you could have said that about me before. I'm not a violent black American now. I can be, and I'm gonna tell you, I'm not afraid to be. I don't encourage anybody to test that. But if you do, I'm not ducking no wreck from nobody, especially him.
That was he called in last night to you all's spaces or gathering and talked for a little bit, and then you all kind of dismissed him. And I didn't hear a lot of objections. And, correct me if I'm wrong, there seemed to be a pretty large number of people there on that space, and it was predominantly white people talking about him, not having any respect for him. And it seemed like there seemed to be a consensus among the entire group, like, hey, he's a paid agitator, he's a Fed.
Yeah.
And this isn't the first time, from Occupy Wall Street to Antifa to BLM. This dude just keeps putting on different uniforms.
Yeah, well, the funny thing about that, right, is when we all first got there, Jake and a couple other people who I'm not going to name because they ain't out here stirring no pot. But there's more. It's not just Jake. There's more. But I'm not going to mention them. But Jake is one of them. That when we first got there, he thought that they had him in PC with people who were just like him and the other people that I'm not going to name. So they were talking about Occupy Wall Street and were we there at Occupy Wall Street and how many protested. And they're like, bro, wow, Pete Schwartz. He was like, bro, why would I be at Occupy Wall Street, bro? I'm not a Democrat. I'm a Trump supporter. And then they figured out like, oh, this pod isn't a protective custody pod away from the Trump supporters. This pod is actual Jan 6ers that consider themselves patriots. That's when Jake switched up and became super pro-America.
So I'm going to ask it a tiny bit more direct because I thought I heard it last night. It seemed like some of y'all think he's a Fed, that someone is funding it. But you also said he comes from a lot of money, it sounds like, as well, listening to you all talk and the favors he was been able to do for people, perhaps like a Philip Anderson, the black guy supporting him. Walk us through any of that.
All right, look, it's his dad's money, number one. Number two, he got a bunch of, it's not Jake's money. Jake creates a whole bunch of foundations or PACs, right, where people donate money to for different things. Like right now they got ones for like Ethiopian kids, you know what I'm saying, and ministering Jesus Christ to them. And the other one is for January 6ers relief. And then another one over here for Save the Whales or whatever it is, right? And he attaches himself to all these things and puts it out there into the public. And what he told us is that he has a bunch of people from like India or Philippines or something that are bot accounts that inflate his numbers on X, at formerly Twitter. And when they inflate the numbers, it gives the illusion that I need to watch this. So it looks like he has a ton of support. So people end up clicking on the video and then they end up donating and they end up, why do you think he got put everywhere? He's had an assistant since we've been locked up. The man had an assistant from like the Philippines or Vietnam or so wherever they were from, doing his stuff for him while we were incarcerated and blowing up his numbers. When he dropped his little weak documentary where he tried to make himself like he was Jesus Christ, he blew that up. People weren't interested in that. And then it started to catch wind because of the inflated numbers. And people started thinking, oh my God, this poor guy, he's locked up for January 6th and he was a patriot. He saw people die. And he lied. He lied. He said about Roseanne Boylan. He said that he was there and she died in his loving patriotic arms. That was a lie. Because when Ronald Maccabee showed up, who actually was right there next to Roseanne when she passed away because he was doing chest compressions on her, Jake wasn't right there. Jake was swinging the bat at the police officers. Jake came to January 6th dressed up like Antifa, dressed up like an infiltrator. People they ain't picking. I got a video on my X right now. You go and watch it, right? You see this man throwing signals before it pops off. But when the cops are standing off with the January 6s, before it pops off, you see Jake doing hand signals inside towards the police officers. He's right there in the front, and then the police is right in front of him, and he's throwing hand signals, lifting up his gas mask, putting his gas mask back down. Come on, man. And then he cries to everybody, says, they didn't let me have a trial. They violated my due process. All you got to do is go and look up the records. That man was begging for continuances. Begging for continuances. Why would you beg for continuances and then tell the people that they're denying your right to a speedy trial? You didn't want the trial. You wanted the optics. In my mind, this is my opinion, they prepping this dude up, man. He's a massive psyop, has been from day one, to make a stain on the movement, to cause a divide between black and white people in America. And what the crazy part about it is he's not even white. That's the crazy part. He's calling for all these white people to come out and support him, and he ain't even white. He's pretending to be.
You've certainly nailed my read on him. Last thing, I want to play you a clip from today. Austin Metcalf's dad, Jeff Metcalf, on the phone with Jake at this protest rally. Obviously, I applaud with what Austin Metcalf's father said, but I was appalled that
me too.
Jake Lang would be trying to scold, chastise, criticize this man who lost his son. Let's play the clip, and then I want your reaction.
Would you be willing to stand by me in a press conference or in an individual interview and talk about this issue that is larger than Austin at this point? God rest the beautiful young man's soul that would have been one of our strongest voices if he was still alive today.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the fucking problem, my friend. You're trying to create more race divide than bridging the gap. I do not condone anything you do. You do not have any fucking...
That's called white guilt.
No, let it talk.
But my son, let me finish. I gave you your time. You take my son's face off your website. I am not associated with you. I don't...
You're creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness, sir. You are creating more Austin Metcalfs with your weakness.
Here, you are being weak. I gotta be honest with you about that, sir.
You're being weak. Condemn your son's killer and the culture that caused it.
Hey, Jeff.
That's the problem. You've been submitted.
Hold on, hey, Jeff.
You've been submitted.
I'll handle it from here.
You've been submitted, sir.
You're not gonna make
If
us
we
back
were all,
down.
if we were all of your nature,
Guys, listen.
You're
Let me
not
say
gonna
this.
save
what a
us.
weak
Not
man.
Do you know who you're talking to?
You
don't, do you?
I'm talking to a black man.
You don't. No, you're not.
Okay.
You sit here, you talk about Trump.
But I am. You're not
Google
gonna
my
make me
name
back
and
down.
Trump. No. When you do that, my name is Bruce.
I agree with black males
No,
winning,
Google that.
but they're not winning right
what
now.
You're doing,
they're becoming
but what
degenerates.
you're doing
and murdering white
you're
people.
not helping America. You're no more patriotic than I am. No
Being
way.
silent is
Where
not
were you
helping.
on
No way.
January
You've been
6th?
silent. It's only gotten worse.
Where were you on January
just
6th?
You've been
said that
silent.
about
It's only
Patriot.
gotten
Where
worse.
Where were you? Did you stand for your country
So you
when they
think that
stole our
made you
vote?
patriot because you showed up there? Does that
tyranny.
make you a patriot?
Joe
What's your
Biden,
Because you
Joe
showed
Biden
up.
is a
All you're doing is
pedophile.
condemning us. What's your
My solution is to help people where they're weak. So we have an issue in young black males' lives across the country.
It's not
It doesn't
Say that
matter.
to Jeff
Nothing's
Metcalf.
changed. It's
Say
getting
that to
worse.
Jeff Metcalf.
We talk about it, man.
Say it.
At the end of the
So
day,
then
the
what
man
is
is
his-
asking.
his-
So let me ask you this: you got a father who's grieving, and your response is he's weak.
My father is celebrating my strength right now.
You have no idea. You'll never win the Senate. And what I'll do, I'll come to Florida and run for Senate and run as a Republican, and I'll kick your butt.
No,
Guaranteed.
you
2
lose,
years,
bro.
You need 2 years of
Guaranteed.
presidency
You
in
lose.
Florida.
Because this
first of all.
behavior is why
First
we're in
of
the
all.
situation where we are.
No.
We get these. Is that what it is? Okay. Well, at the end of the day, he's asked you what to do and what not to do.
Listen,
you have a right to
he's
do it
no
or not
longer
do it.
You can
Austin
say
Metcalf.
not about
I love
Austin
Austin.
Metcalf, but we're gonna
don't
continue
know
this
Austin.
movement.
I love somebody
You
enough
love
to be
the thought of
strong with-
using Austin
No.
for T-shirts, for propaganda, and to get out here and talk about
You
who
want to
you
shut
are.
down a
I'm
white
not
man
raising
right
money.
now. That's what
I'll
I'm trying
shut
to
you
do.
down, and
I'm not
you're not
raising
shutting
money.
me
I'm
down.
not raising money like
Because
Carmelo
I got
Anthony.
family.
I'm not raising money like
put down
Carmelo
anymore.
Anthony.
No, bro, you
finances
stop.
at
You
a
came here
million.
to try to shut him down.
No, I
That's
came
what
in to
this
give him a
is.
message from a father.
And listen,
but I realize
Nah,
that's
bro.
not his deal.
Let's
The
be honest.
message-
You're a black man trying to shut him down.
I'm a
I think that's one of the most despicable, narcissistic things I've ever seen. A man loses his 17-year-old son. Son dies in his twin brother's arms, and Jake Lang, a Jewish man from New York who has moved to Florida and has driven to Texas, is telling Austin Metcalf, father, how he should feel and how he should respond. I don't know. Other than the murder of Austin Metcalf, I don't know if you could do anything more despicable than that.
I don't think you can. You know, I mean, the only thing that I would say is even more despicable than that is the fact that you're calling this man out who is a believer. The man professes to have faith in Christ, right? And he said that he forgives him. And you know how much strength that takes to forgive somebody that has taken away something so precious as your son? That takes a lot of forgiveness and a lot of strength to have. And what makes it even more despicable is that the dude next to him, Philip Anderson, who I call his Wookiee, that he owes him a life debt. You know, you ever watch Star Wars? If you save a Wookiee's life, they owe you a life debt. So they're going to be loyal to you no matter what. Philip Anderson is his Wookiee. He's his personal Samuel Jackson from Django. You know what I'm saying? And it's despicable that that man comes in and says, hey, a black man here, just telling you you're weak. You're weak. First off, if this man didn't have a racist bone in his body, he might have just got one because you want to step up and talk about, hey, a black man here. You're not a black man, bro. You a demon. You're a demon. You're a follower. You're a follower of the devil that you run with. And both of y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. You're just disgusting people trying to cause a divide in America where right now it should be a time of healing for everybody. Anybody preaching a racial divide and making this whole thing racial, that's sickening. It's disgusting. Flat out, man. We ain't got no room for that. We're all Americans. How about just call out violence? Say violence is wrong. Say racism is wrong. Why put a color on it? That's the problem that I have with him, is you're putting a color on it while you're running for office. Ain't nobody voting. That again, it's a psyop. You know you ain't gonna win. You're trying to get clout right now, but you got the clout that you wanted now, buddy. I promise you that.
Kash, where can people find you and your content?
Hey, I'm everywhere, you guys. I'm on all social media platforms, and I would greatly appreciate it if you guys do come and follow me because I got stripped of my platforms. I had 380,000 people on Facebook, 256 on Instagram, but if you want to go and follow me, I'm on all social media platforms. On YouTube, I'm Kash Kelly 1, Kash with a K. Kash Kelly 1 on X, Kash Kelly on Facebook, and The Real Kash Kelly on Instagram.
Brother, thank you for making the time. Good luck. We'll probably circle back and have you on again because I don't think this story is going away. Thank you so much.
Hey, man, be blessed, bro. Appreciate you.
Yep. Thank you guys for watching. We'll see you next time.